Hi Aries, how are you? Welcome to your July reading. Sorry these are a tad bit late. Let's get started. I'm using the Witch's Tarot. Wait, hold on. This is the Anna K Tarot. Anna K. I also just put up the You plus Them reading, so if you go to my channel, you can also find those there, so be sure to watch those as well. It's kind of an analysis between you and your person, whoever that is. All right, Aries, July. Spirit and Universe, what are the messages for Aries that Aries need to hear, learn, see, be aware of for July 2019? Messages for Aries in life and love. Okay. I'm going to do a 9-card spread. I can't get away from this 9-card spread. I love it so much. I don't... I used to do the Celtic cross all the time, and I love that, but it's just so, it's like you're locked into, you know, this I think tells so much more. But leave your comments below about your situation. I do all sorts of spreads. I just really have always loved this. What I will do, actually, and I did this last month, let's pull out significators. Please clarify each row for Aries. Please clarify each row for Aries with one significator card. Please clarify each row for Aries with one significator card. Okay, let's do that. Clarifying the row. Okay, let's look at the bottom of the deck. Okay, Justice reversed. Aries, for starters, you love your freedom. You trust yourself. You trust your judgment. You trust your knowledge base. You trust your decisions and your advice. So when you don't get credit for those things, or when someone doesn't trust those things about you because either you have not figured out a way to show them that you do know what you're talking about and you are serious, or they feel threatened by you and so they always try to put the kibosh on what you're trying to do and say and lead and communicate, right? So because you, as an Aries, now again, we don't know your whole chart because we don't know your whole entire, your rising sign is the most important sign because your whole chart is based off of that. Your rising sign and your degrees are the most important aspect of your entire chart. So please, if you know your rising sign, please watch these readings for your rising sign. I do so and they tend to resonate even more. So, but they're combined. Anyway, because you're the first house, the house of innocence, the house of birth, the house of newness in the natural zodiac, you trust yourself so much because everything that comes in, and with that being said, that means that your natural 12th house sign is Pisces. So you are very, very, very intuitive. I mean, extremely intuitive. And so when someone else lacks the intelligence enough to see what you're saying or understand where you're coming from or believe in what you're doing, you get overly offended and feeling this great sense of injustice. I mean, when you feel injustice happening to you or around the world or to humanity or to animals or to a situation, you really feel it. And it is a great injustice. Okay, something that somebody else might not take that seriously, you feel it is this massive, massive injustice. I'm going to tell a story. And if for those of you who don't want to listen to this, if someone could timestamp when the reading starts, that would be really helpful to those who don't want to hear the story. The story is the reason why this reading is called what it is. What about the ducks? So I work for a home builder, and in our model homes, it's just, I mean, our model homes are so phenomenal and so beautiful. And in the backyard, there are these huge pools with the water like runs off the edge of the pool. The pool decking comes up, so there's this little tiny gap like this big, okay, and the water's going under. So a number of weeks ago, our gardener comes and says, hey, there's a duck sitting on her eggs in one of the planter boxes. Do you want me to move her? And we decided as a group, because we could have moved them, and don't believe the wives' tale that if you touch a duck's eggs, they're going to disown it. It does not happen. That's a wives' tale. And we decided that we would let them hatch and let them get strong enough, and then we would move the whole family to a pond or someplace safer for them. Or more natural, right, instead of in a model home swimming pool. So we let them hatch a number of weeks. I was highly invested in these ducks. I mean, checking on them every day, making sure she wasn't getting stuck in the pool net, so excited about the ducks. And as an Aries, I love everything innocent, right? Everything is just like this new, fresh, innocent thing. So one day, just like I was suspecting, we came to work and there were ducklings hatching. And I was so excited, and I didn't know they take 24 hours to hatch and all this stuff, so I was kind of watching them throughout the whole day. I knew there were 3, and I said, okay, well, after work, I'll come back, I'll check on them, and they were already starting to kind of swim around and walk around, so they were clearly strong enough to be moved. So I thought, well, after work, I'll come back. I come back, I get this bin, put leaves in it and a blanket, and I'm starting to pick up the ducks, and the mom's freaking out. Of course, she was so nervous, but if I could have, captured them all, then they would have gone to a very nice home. So I'm picking them up, I put them all in there, and I'm just like, well, maybe I'll take their nest. I'll pick up their nest and I'll put it with them, so then when I replace them somewhere, I can replace their nest and they'll feel like they have some home with them, something from home, and they can kind of re-nest. So I'm picking up and I realized that there was one egg. I thought it was just a shell, but it was heavy and it was warm, and I was like, oh shit, like this is still hatching. Like, put them all back. I'll come back tomorrow morning. Okay, done. Come back tomorrow morning, they're all hatched, and they're swimming around the pool, and they are so sweet, okay? And I came back early because I was like, I'm going to grab them all, take them down to this pond, this area of town that we have that's a golf course and a pond, and people feed them, and they just would have been all so much better there. So we're trying to capture that. We catch all the babies, and then we're trying to capture the mom, humanely make her so she's already stressed out. But we're trying to, kind of corner her and pick her up softly. And then somebody from the community came back, and they're like, oh no, just leave them in the pool. They'll be fine. The chemicals don't harm the ducks. And I called a couple people, verified that is the case. Ducks are self-feeding, so they can feed themselves, and when they get a little bit stronger in a couple days, they'll move. They'll go find a pond on their own. And the mom will fly around and she'll find a place to lead the ducks to. Okay, so fine. Put them down. Ducks are smart. They find their way. Fine. So we put them back in there, and all of a sudden, one of the babies gets sucked down in this, between the pool decking and the infinity edge. Now, the infinity edge went around the whole entire pool. So it gets sucked down in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's stuck down in there. And it was this thin space, like this big, like you couldn't fit a hand down in there. And the water's coming down, and so it's getting swept around the pool, kind of leading towards uh, the tube that leads to the filter. And this is all underground, so you can't see the edge. It was like starting to get really bright outside, so you're kind of down there with your hands looking through, trying to block the light, trying to figure out where this duck is, because you could hear it chirping, but you couldn't see it, and it was moving. So it took like an hour to locate this duck, maybe an hour and a half. The pool guy came. I was thinking he was going to have a net that would be able to get it out. So much drama. I'm crying because I'm just like, feel so helpless. I can't even find the duck. And even if I found him, I can't fit anything down there. But I thought the first order of business and the most important, turn the pool pump off, obviously, and then find the duck. And mind you, this is my day off. So I'm like ready to spend the entire day there to get this duck situation figured out. And the person that I work with, she's like, well, I'm going to go call our construction manager and he'll have some tools. We'll figure out a way. So she leaves, and then it's just me and the pool guy, and we don't speak the same language. And so there was a communication barrier, but he was very helpful, and he at least understood that I was trying to find the duck. So he's there looking, and the duck's moving, and we can hear him, we can't see him, and it's literally like an hour and a half. We're trying to find this duck. I'm crying. Oh my gosh. And I just kept thinking, why is she not coming back? Why is she not trying to bring tools? And I'm like going in the model home, and I'm trying to find like fern leaves, and I run over to the office, and I get like a measuring tape and sticks and anything I could get down in there, because I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, I'll build a little ramp so the duck can come up. He fit down in there so he can fit up. Nothing was working, and we finally located him. And it was funny because the water just doesn't go down into this straight thing. There's like this underneath, there's like this little section. So he was kind of staying down in there away from the sunlight because he was scared to death. And I happened to see this little, over the edge, I'm peeking through, and I see this little tiny triangle. Like this like barely could see that it was the very tip of his tail. Scared to death. He's shivering by now, he's chirping, he's disoriented, there's too much water, he's too cold, he's definitely hungry. Less than 24 hours old, right? And I'm just like, are you serious right now? Like, where are the people? I'm calling, nobody's answered, they're ignoring me, and I'm freaking out, so everyone's probably trying to stay away from me because I'm not acting rationally, but the pool guy is like, I'm sticking with you. He just sits there. And I'm thinking all we need is for somebody to go get an aquarium net, those little nets, those thin little nets that you get the fish out at the pet store. And I'm like, nobody's here. I need everybody to come and like help, but I have the solution. I can't communicate the solution, and everyone's actually at work, so they won't leave because they, shouldn't leave. But I needed someone to keep the eye on the duck. It was just so traumatic. Nobody seemed to care except for me and this pool guy. So I let the pool guy, like, he understood what I was saying, kind of, and I'm like, don't take your eye off of this little duck's tail. Don't take your eye. I'm going to the store. I'm going to buy a net. I'll be back. Do not take your eyes off of it. And meanwhile, the other girl that I was working with, she ordered a temp that day for 4 hours because she had something she had to do elsewhere. So we had a temp come in, and I knew this temp really well. She was very nice, and I'm like, she's going to care. So I'm like, this is what's going on, blah, 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 blah. Stick with the pool guy. Like, I don't care if you sell a house today. We have to fix this duck. We have to save these ducks. Here's the situation. I'll be back in an hour. So I race downtown. I go to this pool store, and I get a little aquarium net. I buy them all. I buy all of them, all the sizes. I'm like, one of these is going to work. Okay, race back up there. It was about an hour before I got back, maybe a little less, 45 minutes. And she's standing out there with the pool guy, and she's like, one more fell in, so now there's 2 down there. The mom's freaking out again, remember, because she can hear them chirping, but can't figure out where they are. We're terrifying her. So then I show up, I have this net, They both come out. It literally takes 2 seconds. You put the thing, you put the net down in, you scoop up the duck, they shimmy through, you place it in the water, they swim off to mom. Thank goodness, right? Okay, problem solved. We have a solution. Now we just have to wait until they're, and in my mind I'm like, forget this waiting till they find their own place. I'm coming back tonight. I'm going to move them all. Because they were so traumatized. I needed them to be with their mom for a few more hours, get food, get water, get warm. I couldn't traumatize those two that had fallen down in there, specifically that one. They needed a couple hours. So I was thinking, I'll come back after work and I will, after closing hours, and I'll gather them up and I'll take them to a safe location. Safe meaning, I understand the circle of life. I understand natural selection. So I understand that. When I take them to a golf course, I understand that a coyote might eat them, or they might be eaten by a fox, or the mom might get so terrified and I understand that. So there was kind of this internal battle of, do you leave them and you just always watch them with the aquarium net? Because it's only going to be another day or two before they'll be big enough they won't fit down there, right? So you just got to keep an eye on them for 1 or 2 more days, or just transport them and trust the circle of life natural selection situation, which is probably what's happening now anyway, right? Oh, so much drama. I was so worried about these ducks, and they were so sweet. Oh, they were so sweet. And so I tell this temp, I'm like, listen, there are 7 ducks. There's 7. Your job today is to make sure that there's always 7 ducks in this pool. Always 7. Here's how you get them out. There's all these different sizes. This is where they were you saw when they were in there. Where to follow, how to find them. Keep your eyes on the ducks. 7, 7, 7. Make sure there's 7. So, and again, I'm an emotional wreck. Feeling helpless, hungry, tired, getting sunburned all over the place, because the whole thing is get the ducks. How hard is this? And there's 8,000 people around. Where is everybody with tools? Why is nobody caring? I couldn't believe it. It was traumatizing, and you can probably hear in my voice and how I'm telling the story. I just can't believe that this happened. And then, so in the meantime, the temp was only supposed to be there for 4 or 5 hours, and then the other person, my office partner, was supposed to come back. And, I'm like, call me when you're leaving, so I know there's 7 ducks, and I'm planning on coming back tonight and moving them. Still weighing out, should I just block that edge off for the next 2 days, or should I really move them? Still trying to figure out what the best thing is for them, because they were already traumatized enough. So then around 4:45-ish, 5 o'clock, she calls me and she says, I'm happy to report that they kept falling, but thank you for the nets. They worked. I got them out, and I just want you to know that all 6 ducks are there. Yeah, she said 6. I'm happy to report all 6 ducks are there. And I'm sitting there, hold on, let me get a drink. I cannot believe that first of all, everybody's at fault here, everybody. But I cannot believe that she didn't have that number 7 registered and burned in her brain. These are lives we're talking about here. Little innocent, 1-day-old baby lives. And she didn't remember how many there were? And by the way, still, nobody else is caring, right? The pool guy's like, well, you got him out. Thank you. We have a solution. Thank you. Right? So he's like, I'm out of here. The pump had been turned back on because we had to turn the pump back on when he was there. But she was supposed to watch the ducks. Actually, she wasn't supposed to, but I needed her to. Actually, no, I didn't need her to. The social contract of life needed her to. It's what you do. And I can't blame her because I should have been there too. Everybody should have been there. Nobody should have gone away from that pool without all of the ducks being safe. So it's not like I'm hurt. It's not that I'm hurt or I needed her to, or we all of us, everybody needed to take care of them. So I'm like, holy shit, there's only 6, one's down there. I race, because again, remember, we have a solution, okay? I race there. And I walk back in there. I walk back into the backyard, and there are no ducks anywhere. No ducks. So I'm like, it's oddly quiet, right? I didn't hear any chirping. So she left, 45 minutes ago, and so all 7 or all 6 of them, or all 7 of them can't be down in there because I would hear them chirping. The mom would still be there freaking out. So I'm thinking maybe they got so traumatized and decided to leave. Okay, very possible. They waddle off, the mom's like, I'm out of here, the ducks follow, babies follow. And then I'm like, well, maybe we moved them. But I'm like, if somebody on our side moved them, they would have let me know, especially with my freak out earlier that day, like freaking out. Tears, I mean, I haven't cried so hard in a long time, couple years probably. I haven't felt so helpless for so long. I'm like, okay, well, if someone moved them, they would have told me that they were safe, right? So I didn't think that was the case. Then I thought the mom just left, which means that one is still down there. Because if there were 6 and she got terrified, she left with 6, one's still down there, I can't hear him chirping, where is he? So I take the net, I'm scouring the edge, and it's a big pool. I mean, it's not like this little, the infinity edge goes around the entire thing. So I'm like going around and around and around with the net, like trying to catch something, trying to hear something. Nothing. So I get my flashlight and I'm like looking around the edge, nothing. Not a chirp in sight. Not a chirp anywhere. So then I thought, okay, well, we all knew what the solution was, so maybe somebody else got her out after the temp left, and then maybe they all walked away. But I had this weird gut feeling like something, I would know if they had left. I would know, somebody would have told me something. Somebody would have seen them all walking down the street, right? Somebody would have said something. So I'm like, maybe they're out getting dinner. Maybe they're under the fence and out in the grass area, like finding food. I look, I go to the other pools with the other models, no ducks. Not a chirp, nothing. Okay, so I go home and I sit there and I'm like, where are they? Maybe they really were just eating somewhere, so I'm going to go back. So I go back at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So much praying that they're all going to be there. Nothing. Silence. And I just sat there. And again, I go to the other models. I look at the pools and the other models. I'm walking around the neighborhood listening. Nothing. So the next day I go in and I asked all the people, what happened? Well, did you guys find them? What happened? And then, so that 45 minutes it took me to get there after the temp said they're all 6 there. There's that 45-minute span of time, remember, right? So one of the guys was like, yeah, after work, because they get off a little earlier than we do because they start so much earlier in the morning. He's like, after work, I went to check on them because I was going to help you get them, but there were only 3 in the mom, so I took them and I moved them. And I'm like, well, where'd you move them? And he goes, I took them over to this other people's, so we, in our community, like people are building pools, right? So, and so he's like, I put them in this person's pool. And I'm like, okay, but there was only 3. He's like, I'm like, there were 7. Where are they? There's 7. This is how everybody knows that this is how you got them out. This is how we get them out. Everybody knows. Why were there only 3? That means there's 4 in the filter. This is the next morning. So I'm freaking out. And then another girl comes into my office, and I was at work that day. And so, and I'm like crying and I'm all nervous. I don't know how to get to the filter. It's like underneath the actual like filter is like underneath the grass, and like the place where they would have gone. It's like underneath the grass. I couldn't get in there. It was like underneath the landscaping. And she's like, no, he said that there were 3, but then I talked to the people with the pool, and she's like, I thought everybody's telling me that all 8 were there. And I'm like, don't lie, because there's never were 8, right? There was always 7. And she's like, no, everyone's saying there's 8, but maybe they miscounted. So they're all fine. Everyone's safe. And then another person came in that day and they were like, yeah, all 8 are over at this person's pool. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to check on them later. I'm like, well, did they know that you put them in the pool, or did you ask them? Because I'm trying to ascertain, like, are the ducks safe? All 3, the 3 remaining that I deep in my gut knew that 4 had died. And so I later on that day, these people, like, actually they came into the office because we were kind of friends with them. We knew them so well because we had built their house. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the ducks. He's like, the ducks? What are you talking about? He's like, yeah, we had 3 ducks and a mom show up in our pool. And so we didn't tell them that we were going to do that. Not okay, right? But secondly, he's like, yeah, we had this infinity edge and they kept falling over to the infinity edge, so I had to keep getting them out of the filter. And finally, the mom was so scared and traumatized that I'm sorry, this is going on forever. I'm sorry. But she's like, the mom was so scared and traumatized that she flew off and never came back. And so I got the ducks and I put them over the fence into the park. And there's a park there, but there's no water, right? I live in the desert. There's no water unless you, like, take them to water. And I'm like, why don't you take them to Rhodes Ranch? And I had to remember, like, these people had no idea that I was involved or that invested or that we had spent the entire day prior trying to get the ducks. So I just had to let it go. And then I left work that day and I drove down the street because their house backs up to a street. There's, like, they're back of their house here, the street here, and then they're on the corner, so there's, like, this big long park here. And I just lost it. And I just lost it because how many human beings does it take to save 7 little ducks? And again, I'm, like, all mad at them, but at the same time, it's still my fault too. There was no adherence to, even on my part, even as angry as I am, and I feel like vindicated because I'm the one that cared, but no, like, even on my part, I didn't adhere to the social contract. I should have never left those ducks until they were safely transported, especially once we knew of the water hazard, right? Letting them stay in the pool a couple days, get big enough, transport them, fine. That's totally fine. But once we knew of the water hazard, they should have never stayed there. And that's even my fault. But now I know 4 died a scary, lonely, confused, hungry, cold death with water being shoved in their face in the water filter. 4. And then I know 3 had a traumatic move, abandoned by their mom, and then dumped over the fence. And what are they going to do? Walk down the sidewalk in 115 degrees weather and go to some pond that doesn't exist? I mean, and I cry every time I drive down that street because I don't know if they huddled up underneath the bush and died together, or if one just stopped walking with the group and just died alone. Like, I can't even deal with it. It is so sad. It is so sad. And so I just had to tell this story because, like, you really feel injustice. Like, it really, and y'all are probably watching this video being like, she is whack. But I wasn't. Like, they were so innocent and it was just pointless. And I'm trying to find a picture to show you. Here they are, like, all the babies, like, the night I was, like, trying to get them. Can you see them? And here I even took a little video. We're gonna watch it.
There's 7 little babies. God,
Look at them.
there's 7. Oh my goodness.
Look at it.
Sweet little baby duck. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so that's enough. So that was their one night. But you feel this injustice so strongly, like it really gets to you. Like I feel their fear, I feel their confusion. You know, like it's just that, all of that was not okay. All of that was pointless. It was pointless. It was solvable. It was pointless. And nobody cared enough. And I can tout myself all day that I cared and I did this and I did that and I spent the whole day blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they all still died. Every single one, and the mom lost her family. So when you feel this, you really, 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 really feel this. Okay, now you can tag this for the reading to start. And I still drive back past that park and I always wonder, like, did one make it? Just one. And I know it didn't because it's too hot and they were too young and there was no water. There's no way they could have. And I'm not trying to be negative, but like, they definitely didn't make it. Oh, so pointless. So when you talk about social contracts, and you know what, back to the natural selection, you remember that movie Final Destination? How like the plane crashed or the plane blew up, but this group of teenagers, one felt sick or scared, so she got all of her friends off the plane, but then after the plane blew up, she started realizing that like weeks passed and they all started dying in the same order that they were sitting on the plane. So like there is a rhyme and a reason and an order to that. So, you know, I think, and maybe I'm just trying to be stupid and justify this whole thing, but maybe even if I had moved them to the park, the golf course, maybe they would have died anyway. But at least it would have been quick by a coyote. Like literally they probably wouldn't have hardly felt anything instead of this long drawn out bullshit. So maybe I can't argue with that, and maybe I made it all worse by trying to traumatize them in the first place. I just don't even know. I cannot handle the amount of not caring that took place. And that really bothers me. Because here's the thing with the Emperor. This is you, Aries. Here's the thing with the Emperor. Okay? Not only are you a leader, a strong leader, not only are you intelligent, not only are you sensitive and perceptive, but you actually stand for a bigger, greater cause. You actually have very strong morals and very tight ethical boundaries. You don't live in the gray area. You do not live in the gray area. And people can give you a rough time for that sometimes, don't they? You're taking things too seriously, blah, 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 like calm down, relax. And you're just like, no, dude, all the ducks died. And it was super pointless. And that is the most amount of bullshit I've seen ever in my life. Okay? So you're always looking for a new beginning, a new idea, a more efficient way, a more effective way. You always are seeking, you always know that there's always room for improvement. Always, no matter how well oiled the machine is, there's always more that can be done. There's always a better way, a smarter way, a cheaper way, a faster way, whatever. And you really believe in that. And you're right. And then the Five of Wands here, but you also know that you can't get stuck down in analytics all the time, right? There has to be this happy balance, this happy medium. So at some point you have to make a decision, even though things aren't perfect all the time, right? There's this cutoff point. The law of diminishing returns. All right. And maybe that's what it came down to with the ducks. Like maybe I left because I was tired of being in the sun and I was tired of having dried tears all over my face and down my chest. Had a massive headache, and maybe to me it was worth it to let the temp watch them because I knew that she would care enough. Maybe it was worth it to me to give them a couple more days or come back at night to fix them, to grab them. Like, it was worth it enough to take that risk. And maybe that's why I'm so frustrated by this, because ultimately I should have just taken them to begin with. Even that night I shot that little video, I mean, maybe that was right before I picked up the nest and realized there was one egg that hadn't hatched yet. Even then, maybe I should have just taken them all. And because that 8th duck, because there were really 8, the one that hadn't hatched yet. Right? I put them all back, but in the morning there were still only 7. So maybe that wives' tale is right. Maybe the mom got rid of that baby duck because he never hatched, or his egg was gone the next morning, totally gone. So already one casualty, already one pointless casualty. All right. But there is a point where you can't just sit and care all day. You can't just sit and save money all day. You can't just sit and only work all day. Like, there has to be some sort of balancing out where there's a point where it's more detrimental to keep on than to not, right? Or to make the shift as opposed to not making the shift. That's what this whole row is about. It's all about you understanding that balance and understanding that there has to be decisions made sometimes. Okay, let's talk about this next row. 3 of Swords. Either there's a third-party relationship or something's breaking down and you're walking away from something or you're feeling hurt. Now, King of Wands here walking towards this. You may be causing this or unsure of a situation, so you're waltzing in saying, not anymore, I'm done. Okay. I don't know if you're cheating, but I don't feel cared about enough. I don't feel like you care about me as much as I care about you in the situation. Deuces, I'm out. Like, you're cutting it off at the bridge. You're cutting it off. Okay. And then you're putting your head down and working and cutting off your emotions. Okay, so be careful about this. Be careful about this, right? I can loathe everybody that I work with because they literally hurt the ducks, or I can realize that I too am to blame, right? But waltzing in and cutting something off that hurt you to the degree of losing touch with your emotions and only doing one thing repetitively, while it does build something, you're losing the point. You're losing the point of what you were originally trying to fight for. So that's very frustrating for you, but you've got to keep tabs on yourself when you do this. Because this is kind of a little bit of an immature response to something that ultimately kind of had to take place. Okay? Now let's look at what's happening down here. Sometimes there isn't any more you can do. Okay, sometimes there isn't any more you can do. But the response to that doesn't have to be this cutting off of emotions and conversation, not accepting anything, giving up on everything, right? This is an overly dramatic response to something when you feel like there's nothing more you can do. This also is, don't have an over dramatic response, Aries, because the ships are coming in. Maybe not in your time frame. Maybe you feel like they're not because you feel this great injustice occurring. But sometimes you have to breathe and tell yourself it's okay. Maybe it's just part of the cycle. And I'm really talking to myself right here because I don't know that I'm ever going to feel fully settled about that whole thing that happened with the baby ducks. And for me to sit here and say, natural selection, circle of life, it's okay. I'll see them in my next life and they'll thank me for, it's like, no, I don't know if I can do that. I really, in this situation, I don't know if I can do that. But what I can do is not overreact and cut the people out of my life and cut off my coworkers, right? And hate them and be mad at them and call them stupid because I equally am to blame. So there's this self-awareness built into this. That's what this Five of Wands is too. There's this bigger picture self-awareness thing taking place. Okay, let's pull a couple. I know that was the longest reading ever, and I know that 95% of it was that story, but I drive past that sidewalk in that park and I just die inside. And this was like a good 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks ago this happened. Oh, okay. Let's clarify this Three of Swords. It's kind of a biggie. And let's also clarify this Queen of Swords. I think this is an overdramatic response to something. Oh, yeah, okay. There could be somebody that you were really into and then an air sign has, either you're into an air sign or you're heartbroken over an air sign. But what you can't control it. Aries, you cannot control it. This is you either trying to control it or this is somebody else that you're trying to, like they're all up in the grill, like they're all up in this situation and they caused a heartbreak over probably the love of your life and now they have them and there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. They win. Right? And you're heartbroken over it. So that could be part of what's taking place. Okay, let's pull 3 outcome cards. Oh, I'm all sniffly after the duck story. Three outcome cards for Aries in July. You know what? No, let's pull an oracle card. I'm just thinking. Should we do Angelarium? They're so dark, kind of. I mean, they're not dark, but let's do this. Let's do these angel cards. Even though I don't subscribe to the whole angel thing. What is the most important, highest level message that Aries needs to hear this month? Most important, highest level message for Aries. Most important, highest level message for Aries regarding this reading and their love life, their general life, and well-being this month in July. The Friends. Okay. There's some readers that like know these cards like the back of their hand, and I just can't. Okay. The Friends. Keywords. Friendship, support, aid. Friendly. Now think about the ducks when I read this, okay? And whatever the situation is in your life that you're feeling this great injustice about. Friendly cooperation with others is necessary to reach mutual goals. See, we all should have come together. All of us should have come together and cared and saved them. Willingness to give and receive assistance and support is also required. Ask friends for help and suggestions. Listen with respect and accept the gifts willingly offered. Unconditional receiving is even more difficult than unconditional giving. 4 feet are more stable than 2. Someone you love may be needing your help and be too bound up by fear of rejection or pride to ask. Volunteer your help to your friends and give unconditionally from a generous, loving heart. It will do you good, increasing your store of credit for help in time of need. It might even help them. Okay. Be conscientious of others' needs. Be conscientious of the social contract. Okay? Like, and I get that you can't help everything and you can't help everyone, and what about the starving people and what about the homeless people on the side of the street? I understand that. I definitely understand all of that. But when something is so easily solvable, it is your duty as a human being on this earth to do it. It is your duty to care. It is your duty to try to find a solution, to pull people together, to work together. It's your duty to understand that other people care more about something than you do and to jump on board and help them. It is always our duty. That's why we're human. And by the way, we are not the greatest thing in the whole entire universe, right? We're animals that have some self-awareness. So let's band together and help everything. Let's band together and create some efficiency and some effectiveness. Let's band together and side with morality and ethics. It's not always about you versus the other side. We're all really the same, and we're all in this together, and let's start seeing each other as one. It is our social duty. Okay, I love you so much, Aries. I'm so sorry for that long story, but I think you get it. I think you actually know what I'm talking about here. So leave your comments below. I love you. Your 6-month overview is coming up, and I will talk to you later. All right, bye.